The hype is on.
If you want to be one of the first to get your hands on some of the hot new MagnaMax steel, wait till you check this knife out.
Hay is for horses, but here I am with a recently purchased Scapegoat Street Auto, with the blade made allegedly out of MagnaMax steel. I'll explain why I said allegedly in a couple of minutes here. We got Ramon Chavez signature on the blade and a newly updated Chavez Knives insignia. 2026 Blade Texas, number 30 of 145. And that's already enough to pique interest of any Protech collector. But that's not all of it. Check out the blade. The most exciting word in a knife collector's vocabulary, prototype. But in this case, they're not talking about the knife. Is there anyone who is watching this video and doesn't know what Chavez pocket clip is supposed to look like? Exactly. Whatever the F this thing that Protech slapped on the knife is called, it ain't Chavez clip. This atrocity is exactly the same clip they slapped on Strider collaboration. Redención Auto Protech made has the skull pocket clip. Every other Chavez I own has a pocket clip that looks like a skull. Even the cheapest one they make, non-Riyadh. The disappointment continues with the blade shape. While the handle looks like that of a Scapegoat, that blade ain't Scapegoat shape. Here's the real one. It's in a full size. When Scapegoat came out, I thought, what a badass looking knife. Look at that blade. That aggressive curve that rises up to meet a robust clip point resembles a battle axe. Where is my finger choil, Protech? What in the world possessed you to change this beautiful shape and assassinate the knife's character? The whole thing about Scapegoat was that stitch-like finger choil. I guess I'll have to stop mincing words and say this clip and the blade shape are total bullshit. Let's see if they at least fix the mechanical issue that I found in the original 229 Redención Auto. I bet you've seen the video where the stop pin on this knife, unlike any other Protech that I own, is hanging out there in the middle of the handle, causing the knife to self-destruct. I'll talk about it later when I disassemble this, I can't even call it Scapegoat. It's like McDonald's without the arches. Oh, and it does look like they fixed the mechanical issue. Or should I say, they decided not to screw with a good thing and went back to their traditional layout, a fully supported stop pin. It is 82 grams or 2.9 ounces. Comparing it to 229 Redención Auto, it's a lightweight knife because this one is basically almost 2 ounces heavier. And since the regular Scapegoat is also weighing in at 4.9 ounces, I think Protech Scapegoat is the lightest Chavez you can buy to date. Let me put it this way, if you don't own a single Chavez knife, this Redención 229 should be the first one you buy in blue label edition, because you will get exactly or even more than what you pay for. Same goes for the Scapegoat. The way Chavez knives run, you don't even need an auto. Let's check out some measurements. The overall length of this knife is 7 inches. That's 178 millimeters. The blade length is just under 3 inches, 76 millimeters. And the cutting edge is 2 and 31/32, or easily put, 75 millimeters. People rage about how hard and sharp these MagnaMax blades are straight out of the box. Let's see if it's true. Definitely gets into the paper towel pretty easily and follows through. If you folks don't think it's a difficult test for a knife to pass, take your sharpest knife and try it at home. This is just a single ply cheapo paper towel. Yeah, I have no issues with the sharpening. I would give it maybe 9 out of 10. The only reason it's a 9, not a 10, because I deduce a little bit of goofiness toward the tip. Looks like there's a little bit of burr left on the apex, and it's catching as I cut. We immediately follow by a paper towel tube cut test, another difficult test to pass. The god-awful cardboard these are made out of is full of fiber and glue. So a challenge for any knife, especially if the paper towel tube is not supported, as you see here. I feel like it's trying to bite in. I'm making slight course corrections. Attack angle needs to be figured out. I have to encourage the blade in. I can't get it to bite. Yeah, like this. Let's give it another try. Now that the balance changed a little, maybe it'll bite in. Try it at home, guys. You'll probably have paper towels. So it needed a little sewing action there. Clean cut, though, for a thick blade like this. And by the way, let me give you a dimension. The blade measures 120 thousandths of an inch thick, or 3 millimeters. The behind the edge thickness is circling around 20 thousandths of an inch, so it's going to be medium slicer. And speaking of the edge, let's grab our Amazon microscope, plug it into the cell phone, and see what it looks like in 35 to 50x magnification. Here I am rotating the secondary bevel toward the camera to take a peek straight onto the apex. I see some burr, not a horrible amount, but this knife was not finish honed or stropped, in my opinion. I don't see any evidence of that. Very flat grind, meaning it's probably a robo grinder as well. Usually when they do it on the belt, there's a little bit of convexity. And I really don't like what I see near the tip where the cross-section area of the blade is small. They left some chipping, or it could be burr. Either way, it's not really a good thing. It's probably burr. Looking on the opposite side, yes, it's not a chip in the edge. And looking at the blend line between the sharpening choil and the plunge line, they are definitely in need of a larger choil, as I said before. If they were to make it with a full-size finger choil, that would not have been an issue. I think the end user should increase the size of the sharpening choil and then hone and strop the knife when they get it. Here you go. The disassembly of any Protech is pretty straightforward. I did find an interesting surprise. As you can see, there are two holes, meaning the spring tension is adjustable by a small degree. So the hole closest to the spine will give you higher tension and deploy the knife just a hair faster than the other way around. Interesting. I have not seen it on previous Protechs. Let me know if you have a production version of this knife and does it have this feature. The reason I disassemble the knife is because I would like to measure the hardness. But first we need to talk about the issue, the mechanical issue that I found on their Reassembly Auto, and they fix. Here's the pin that just came out of this knife. As you can see, it's a basic, catalog pin that you can buy from any parts catalog or on Amazon. And on the ends, it has this taper. So when you insert this pin into this knife, the pin is completely backed up against the aluminum protrusion right here on the frame. And there's a matching one on the opposite side. So when the knife is assembled, the pin is fully backed by aluminum and has no place to move. When they suspended this pin right there in the middle of the handle, they gave up a lot of strength in how the pin engages the handle. And on my knife, I removed the original factory pin and replaced it with one without taper on the end, which ensures that it stopped egging out or deforming the hole that it was sitting in. And from this angle, you can see that the blade does not come in contact with aluminum frame. So really a weak construction. At last year's Atlanta Blade Show, I spoke with Dave Wattenberg, founder and CEO of Protech Knives, about that. He called over their chief engineer and asked me to repeat what I just said, and I even made a sketch. And lo and behold, they fixed it on the new knife. I did a little research on what Proto MagnaMax means, and I'll talk about it as I'm testing the blade for hardness here in a second. Meanwhile, I want to hide the place where I'm poking the blade. So what I'm doing here is I'm marking the area on the blade that is not visible whether the knife is open or closed or in between, so I can hide those little divots that the diamond penetrator puts onto the blade. And the reason I'm trying to hide those divots is because this knife will have some collectible value in the future, and I don't want to completely destroy it by leaving visible marks. Now, if I were ever to sell it, I would fully disclose that there are these pokes and maybe even offer the person to engrave the hardness somewhere on the tang of the blade, again, where it's not visible. But for now, let's just get going on the hardness test. And that's the expense I go through to sustain this independent and unaffiliated channel so that you can get accurate and unskewed information. And while I'm setting up this shot, I am inviting you to listen to the words of MagnaMax's creator, Dr. Larry Thomas.
First proposed it in 2019. We made the first heat with Crucible steel in 2023, and Crucible made a second heat right before they went bankrupt. I first proposed it in 2019.
Here's the poke result, 62.0 HRC. We're smack on calibration.
MagnaMax has been in development for a long time. When I first proposed the idea of MagnaCut to Crucible and Niagara in June 2019, I also proposed a high wear resistance version I was calling Stainless 10V. This version was intended to match the combination of toughness and wear resistance of the non-stainless grades K390, Venatus 8, and CPM 10V. K390 really hits a sweet spot for having good toughness with very high wear resistance. That high wear resistance gives it excellent edge retention.
63.1 HRC, a little lower than I expected, but let's keep going.
MagnaMax achieves that same level of toughness and edge retention, but with the same excellent corrosion resistance of MagnaCut. MagnaMax achieves those properties by using the same general approach to composition as MagnaCut, while increasing carbon, niobium, and vanadium for wear resistance.
What is going on? Now it's a little higher than I expected.
The first commercial heat of MagnaMax has been delivered to a few knife companies. Those knives are a good representation of the steel's properties, though the high carbon means that the corrosion resistance is lower for that prototype steel than the final versions. It's still very good corrosion resistance, but not as good as it could have been.
On the third poke, I'm getting 64.6 HRC, right where I expected it to be. And so I will continue poking it until I get 3 consecutive results, no more than half a point apart. By the way, this segment is accelerated 2x for your time's sake, and that's why we're getting the results so quickly. 64.5 HRC. Let's go on to the next poke and listen to Dr. Thomas.
Once we have more representations of the final material for testing, I will be doing further work like developing final data sheets and ensuring that all of the element targets yield consistent properties even when they are on the lower end or upper end of their allowable ranges.
I got 64.2 HRC on this final poke, and the average is 64.4 HRC, whether or not you keep the outliers in calculations or throw them out.
There are a lot more heat treatment combinations I need to test to optimize recommendations so that the material has its best possible combinations of hardness, edge retention, toughness, and corrosion resistance.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas. Clearly, this blade was made out of the first or the second batch of MagnaMax steel, and so at the time when this blade was made, Dr. Larry Thomas was still collecting data to dial in the composition and perfect that balance that he was talking about a second ago. I personally think that such feature makes the knife very collectible. It hits all the points that cause knives to become collectible. Limited production, numbered 30 out of 145. Exclusive edition for SHOT Show, Texas. Has a prototype MagnaMax steel and one little premium feature in a form of abalone or mother of pearl button. So definitely not going to be a user. It's going to reside in my case. Let me show you. Let me flip the camera around. It's a little hard to see, but this case contains my tech collections, Protech, MicroTech, HARITech. So roughly that's where it's going to live for a long time. And when the production version of MagnaMax comes out. I'll be happy to give it a full up test and see just how balanced that steel is right in front of your eyes. So please be subscribed. And that was not an outro. We're still doing the reassembly of the knife because I think you should know. Without a doubt, Protech knives are the easiest autos to disassemble and reassemble, as you will see. First step, we are fitting the spring, the short tang on the spring, into the hole. I am picking the lighter tension hole, which is the one farthest away from the spine of the blade. Next, we fit the blade onto the pivot while making sure that the long leg on the spring fits in the slot. It goes in rather easily. And next step, we're going to rotate the blade just slightly farther than it feels like it needs to go, if you know what I mean, toward the spine of the handle. Then drop in the plunger spring and the plunger itself. Make sure the plunger is fully depressed into the cavity, and then rotate the blade toward closing position so it's holding down the shoulder on the plunger. At this point, you need to drop in the stop pin and rotate the blade into battery. Make sure everything is still in alignment and the spring is springing, and then push it back again toward the partly closed position so you don't lose the spring in the plunger. While keeping it all in this orientation, slide the show scale in and then drop in the pivot screw and tighten it. You don't need to go all the way and torque it. You just need to make sure it's holding everything in place. I made sure the spring is still under tension, and now I'm ready to reinstall the screws. That I use Hoto multi-bit driver set, and I need T8 for the body screws, T10 on the pivot. They still had plenty of Loctite left on the screw, so I decided to not reapply. And it's pretty straightforward. I don't tighten them all the way to the full torque. I go around and continue tightening them gradually so the pressure evenly distributed around the handle. And in the end, I return to the pivot and make sure I have a decent amount of torque, but not so much that it restricts the motion of the blade. Function check is important, and I am going to play with the knife a little bit, enjoy the fruits of my labor, and check out the centering. I'm using my Olight iMini 3 that is hanging on my neck every single minute of every single day. Links to all the tools that you've seen today are going to be in the video description, but there'll be no links to knives because I don't solicit knives on this channel. I just review them and report the results. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hype the video if you really enjoyed it.